Hello and welcome to the next video in our ship design tutorial series. I do apologize, there hasn't been many episodes out recently as I've kind of been having a little block on how to present information and do a few things. But before we get into the video exactly, I do want to put up a quick disclaimer. And that disclaimer is going to be that this video is going to be essentially me talking a hell of a lot about thoughts around when you design a ship. Why you design ships, how you design ships, what you need to think about, stuff like that. And this is my personal opinion. As such, you may not agree, and that's perfectly fine. There are so many different ways you can make ships in this game, and different philosophies and different ways of looking at it. But in this video, I'll be looking at my way of seeing it, and the essential questions I think need to be asked when you are designing a vessel, essentially. Also, do keep in mind that this video will be one of a few, as there are different classes of ships, military, commercial, and then, we have general, which is kind of what this video will be. It will just be focusing on designing ships as a whole, and I'll make further videos that will be military ship design philosophy and commercial ship design philosophy, and those will split off into newer and newer things. I'll put it kind of on screen now as a visual aid to kind of understand what's going to happen. So, what do I mean by ship design philosophy? Well, ship design philosophy is essentially the ideas you have behind designing a ship. These things can be, why am I doing this? What do I need to do this? What is the purpose of this? And all of these other things. So on the screen, I'm going to put the 4 questions, well, not really questions, but 4 statements and questions I kind of ask myself before I design a ship. So number 1, what is the primary purpose of the ship you are designing? For example, this could be defending the outer colonies from harassment, building up PPV, stuff like that. This is an essential question you need to ask, because if you do not know what the purpose of the ship is, how can you design a system that will work well for that ship? Okay, so we're going to take the Osiris, for example, that you can see on screen. If you're following my Let's Play series, you'll know about the ship. This ship is designed, and its purpose is for surveying other places, other star systems. It is to find out new bodies and information and also stay at extended periods. So that's the purpose. The next question is, how are you going to achieve that purpose? For example, designing ships with X or Y component. So how do I achieve the purpose of the Osiris to explore new worlds and new places? Well, I'm going to need a military jump drive because I don't have jump stabilization out on foreign frontiers. Okay, well, I get a jump drive. I'm going to need geological and gravitational survey sensors because I want to geologically and gravitationally survey other bodies and survey locations so that I can explore more places. Okay, I'm going to need that. I'm going to need a shipyard that can sustain 10,000 tons. I'm going to need 1300 BP to be able to spend on this. So that's the general thinking, is you're trying to determine what you are going to need in a logical and concise fashion for the ship that you are designing. Number 3, what is going to be required to fulfill the purpose? This being resources, logistics, shipyards, all that stuff. So we are going to need better tech, for example. We are going to be able to, build this new ship I want to build. I'm going to need better tech because currently tech doesn't work. And so you can kind of look at that for the cloaking vessels. I can't make a cloaking vessel until I have cloaking tech. So to be able to actually fulfill the purpose of the ship, I'm going to need to build a cloaking device, which I'm going to need to research. I need to get better tech, and I need to be able to make sure the tech matches and prototype stage and look at it like this and kind of understand all of that kind of stuff. The next is going to be, how does the ship interact with your overall fleet and empire design structure? So this can be a military and also a commercial thing. For example, if you are designing your survey vessels to work in a carrier survey fleet where you have a single carrier and survey fighters within that carrier that survey a system, well, you've got to kind of measure, how does that ship interact with the rest of the other stuff? So how does this fighter interact with my carrier? How does my tanker interacts with the carrier. How does this work with that? And this will allow you to determine almost your mission mode and your architecture for your overall planning stage for your surveillance, your discovery, you're moving around, you're doing certain things. So my mission architecture for the Osiris is that it is supposed to operate on its own. It's supposed to be long range and cheap to refuel, and it's supposed to not need any outside assistance except for refueling every so often. And as such, I can design the ship around that in a way that works. So I can make it pretty big, I can give it a decent speed, add its own jump drive, I can do certain things to it that are beneficial to me, okay? So that is kind of what you've got to realize. And then we also have the other stuff on the other hand is with military and commercial vessels is how does my point defense destroyer interact with the rest of the fleet? So for example, my destroyer escort, the Vanguard, how does that ship interact with other similar sized vessels and how does it support other vessels? Well, it's a destroyer escort. Okay, how do I fulfill that purpose? Well, I have Gauss cannons. The purpose of the ship is to protect planets, strategic assets, and prevent missiles from getting through. And I'm going to do that by designing certain components and fulfilling that purpose through resources and logistics. Okay, so then you determine, okay, well, going back to number 4, how does the ship interact with the overall fleet? Well, the ship provides protection and it works in squadrons of 4. That's how the mission is designed, so that it can produce a certain amount of weapon fire to protect other vessels from that enemy. But it also, to fulfill the purpose, it relies on stuff like tankers because it has a low range. So that's really what it is for your ship design philosophy. And you can go into the military design philosophy and commercial ship design philosophy, which I'll be going into a later day. But overall, your philosophy of ship should be almost like you're designing a rocket to go to the moon, okay? Except the moon, in this situation, is your fleet, your situation, the role, purpose, stuff like that. So, when you are looking at designing these new vessels and designing new ships for your fleet, you really have to take a look and consider how does it impact and play with your fleet, your navy, how does it work, what's the purpose? Because if you design a ship that you do not need, then you are going to be wasting BP, you're wasting shipyards, it's not playing correctly in. In an ideal world, what you want is a ship that fits into its role perfectly, plays with the fleet, does the thing it's designed to do. Because in Aurora, specialization is key. You can only really be a generalist once you get higher, and what I mean by a generalist is someone who has everything in one thing, or has a bit of everything. So that means you'll have carriers and troop transports on the same ship. You can't do that if you've only got a small amount of tons to play with. So for example, this destroyer escort wouldn't work if I was trying to also make it an offensive ship. This is a purely point defense capable vessel, okay? So in regards to that, you've got to specialize, and to make that work, you've also got to think about it logically in terms of how you're going to design it, because otherwise then you can't specialize the ship. And so every time you look at a ship and do stuff with that ship, you have to take into account what is the primary purpose, how are you going to achieve that purpose, what is going to be required to fulfill the purpose, and how does the ship interact with your overall fleet and empire design architecture. And if you can satisfactorily answer all of those kind of questions, essentially, then you've got a good ship. And you can do things with that ship accordingly. So yeah, that's pretty much it for general ship design philosophy, for what you're going to be looking at and what you're going to be thinking. It's a short video, just kind of explaining your thought process and your pattern behind designing these kinds of vessels. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below about further how I design certain things, or why I do certain things, or primary purposes and stuff like that. Please don't like, comment, and subscribe, and there will be another video up today that will be on the Let's Play series. So the Let's Play series will be out. I do apologize, I'm going to start getting some more videos out, rolling them out, and we're nearly at 1,000, like